Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Liminal Pines, or I guess you could say coming at you live from the Liminal Pines. My name is Alan. That's my cat. He's going to be joining us here today. His name is Pepper. It's my cat's name. But anyways, welcome to the stream. It's been a while. We're doing streams every other week now. But on today's stream, we are going to be doing a little digital art study of probably one of my favorite manga authors, Takehiko Inoue, which you might know from mangas such as Slam Dunk or Vagabond. Very influential, especially artistically, but also as a manga author. But he has a very particular way of drawing people that I find very alluring, and I want to get in on that magic. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. We are going to look over a little document that I prepared that is a little sort of a pre-study to what exactly it is that we're looking for when we are doing a study like this. And after that, we are going to do just a quick little warm-up study, and then afterwards we're going to do application. This is all going to be portraits, by the way, but I'm sure we'll delve into other territory along the way. But before we start on that, we are going to, because it has been 2 weeks since I have seen you last, we're gonna be taking a look at some things. We have, of course, the current sketchbook that I've been working through. I don't want to deprive you of every little thing that I've been working on. I want to. I have my things over here. I want to show you a new book that I got that I'm going to be using for my next sketchbook. I know we're already thinking ahead. I also want to, and this isn't going to be like too in-depth, of course, because I don't want to bore you with the whole writing thing, but we're going to be taking a look at some pre-writing for my comic that I'm writing in Circles Liminal. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing here today. Of course, we're going to be talking about all sorts of things because it has been a very, very long and eventful 2 weeks. There's things I want to talk about. I want to talk about books. I want to talk about movies and games. The plate is proverbially full. This is a full plate. So we're not going to be starved for topics to talk about. All right. With that said, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to point this camera down, and we're gonna take a look at the sketchbook. I can't wait. I really can't wait. This is always a very fun thing that I have to do. You get to take a nice and close look at just like my face whenever I'm doing this. I have the wide angle lens using right now, and you can see every little pore on my face. Also every little blemish that I have. I don't know if it's because I've been eating. Yeah, my diet's not been the best, but also like stresses of the first world have been taking their toll on me. Maybe I'm sleeping as well as I should be, but that's okay. I feel good, at the very least. Like, I'm functioning, and I'm not depressed currently, so we're doing good. All right, let's go ahead and point this down, and then we will we'll get looking. We'll take a look-see. We're gonna put you in buffer so you don't have to see the messy room behind me in its full glory. Okay. So I guess while I'm turning this down, I wanted to say that I just recently got a new sketchbook tour video out. Well, two actually. I posted one earlier today. I just made like a little short to promote the sketchbook tour video, but it's wordless. It's just music, and it's just like the quickest flip through that you could ever think of. Mainly because like I already did a lot of the scripting for the large video, and I want people to watch that instead. But I was like, okay, I want people to be able to see the sketchbook from beginning to end, right? So it's like I'm not going to deprive people of that. Especially like people who aren't like here to see the live streams and to uh, get every like tiny look into whatever I'm doing. So that's kind of what that's for. And it's also, you know what, new music is always coming out. I want to share the music that I'm listening to, and it's fun to make little edits. I would say, it's like the vibe. The vibe is something that I want to share with others. But yeah, go ahead and check the video. I worked really hard on it. And the next video is also in the making currently. It's a video essay over a video game that I've been talking about this thing for forever, right? But like I'm actually starting to work on it now. I've got a lot of the footage transferred onto my computer. Some of it corrupted though, unfortunately. But that's just something that we're gonna have to live with. So you know what that means? I get to play through the game again in order to in order to get that footage, and I'm using it to sort of like clean up the script a little bit. If you want to see that script, please go ahead, and if you hop over to the Discord, I do have the script in a shared Google Doc. You can't edit it, of course. That's just for me, but you can view it if you want to get a little sneak peek on the script writing process, sort of I guess the creative process, even. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at my little sketchbook, my silly little sketchbook. This is currently I think it's like it's my 6th or 7th complete sketchbook, right? It's crazy that I used to never be able to fill out these things. Now I'm like filling them out so incredibly quick. I don't want to bore you by like having to flip through the entire thing, so we're gonna start a good like 10 or 15 pages before where I am currently. So we are going to take a look at that. Yeah. These are like, I've been like, so this like every sketchbook I do is kind of like a portrait sketchbook, because again, I suck at drawing people, so I always have to practice and study it, and I have to develop my own style. That's kind of what this stream is about, really, is just like studying artists I enjoy to sort of to hijack what it is that I like about them. So this is sort of like whenever I do like these like full portraits like this, unless I say differently, this is kind of like me doing my own thing, right? Like my quote unquote style, but like I'm always trying new things, that's what a sketchbook is for. This is from the last stream. If you were there, then cool. If not, you can go ahead and check that out in the stream playlist. Yeah, and this would all be new to people who watched last stream. Yeah, so I've been very conscious here recently about working on forms, three-dimensionality, and like the way I've been trying to do that is by like, again, cross contours. And that's kind of like what this is. This is from The Last Guardian, which is the video that I'm working on, it's always on the mind. I'm looking at things like cross contours. How can I use that to show three-dimensional form? And this is a Peter Hahn study. Of one of the artists in here that I have is Peter Hahn, and specifically I'm looking how he does form, because he has a very unique way of doing it with these little cross contour marks. Now this isn't a one-to-one, but like it's getting the general essence down. One thing I have found with Peter Hahn is that he's very similar to Kim Jung-gi in his, let's say, in his like line quality, but he uses more of these cross contours. But a lot of his stuff it's very similar in essence. So I'm not able to do too much or find too much from Peter Hahn that I would say is too fundamentally different from Kim Jung-gi, which isn't a bad thing, of course. And Peter Hahn has all of his own stuff. You'll know he has the Dynamic Bible, which I do not know currently. So that has a lot of useful information in it. But for the most part, I'm looking at how he depicts form with these. That's like an anglerfish. Here we have a plein air drawing of, I went to a park and this was a tree that was sitting in front of me, and you can see I'm getting those cross contours, but also I'm like doing line weight. Like I'm paying attention to my line weight. This one right here is a Peter Han study. This is of Sun Wukong, Monkey King, Journey to the West, right? Again, it's not a one-to-one, but I used a brush pen. I use a Tombow brush pen, and I'm really just looking at, okay, how does he use his lines to show form, and how, like, what is the, like, what's the, there's like a lot of gesture going on there too, so that's why I said form and fluidity. And here's kind of afterwards. I was like, okay, if Peter Han is drawing like Monkey King, it's like Monkey King is based off of macaques, so I was like, I'll just go and draw some macaques. Maybe, and I'm like trying to incorporate some of the things that I learned from the study. But yeah, here's another. This is a full body portrait that I did. I kind of like this one. I like the shapes that I was able to capture. I like the level of detail too. Like for back here, it's like it's very simple lines, but also it works because it's in the background and it's underneath, so it's gonna be dark, and it like shows the rest of it against the darkness behind. So I quite like this, and I added some perspective grid marks at the bottom to sort of emphasize that down looking up. Also, I quite like the hand. I think I got a good simplicity with the hand here. I'm very happy with it. The only one thing is that I think the arm is just a little bit too short. But I tried to add like a little fold in the, like right here to show an elbow, to like insinuate maybe that the elbow is bent a little, which is like away from the camera. So that's the reason why it might be a little bit short, but you tell me if that works, really. Here's another plein air. I was sitting at another park. I go to a lot of parks, but I was sitting at another park, and there's this like old farmhouse that was like across from me. I was eating my lunch there. It was very nice, but yeah, I was using my thumbnail card to sort of like frame it, and then I was like I was holding it up, sketching in sort of the proportions, and then I went in and I did the details afterwards. I was really trying to. I didn't do it too well because again, it was like I was doing it there in person in like 20-30 minutes too, like very quick. I was wanting to get the silhouette of the whiteness against like the dark of the roof, but it's like it's too choppy to really get any of that there, but that's what I was going for. That's all that matters, is that I was going for it. Here we have another portrait. Try to keep it pretty simple. You know, like paying attention again to things like line weight, level of detail, but also like hatching, trying to show the forms of the face. And you also have just playing around with shapes down here. Here's where I really popped off and I got crazy. You'll see in not more pages like this, but I was just pulling up photographs of like household objects and bricks and shapes and stuff. And I was sort of just drawing them as simply as I could, not really paying attention to textural detail. I was really trying to look at the shapes, the perspective, and how the form wraps. So you'll see a lot of this wireframe stuff going on. Some of them are better than others, of course, but you get the idea. I think what's more important than getting it perfect is that I am seeing the plane changes at all, because that's what I'm training myself to look for. And just a little bit of indication of form can go a long way. Of course, we have more. This was of stuff I actually have in my apartment. You can see this is like a nail polish thing, and then this is like a cuticle remover bottle, I think. Yeah. And here's just again, it says ignore the messy contours because they are pretty bad for the muscles, but it's just like a little figure thing. I did a lot of like erasing for like the penciling underneath because I wanted to sort of like, you know, get that gesture down. Did I get it perfectly? No, but you know, it's the effort that matters. Sort of breaking it down into smaller bits down there. Ooh, more of this, more wireframing nonsense. Yeah, This is some of these things are a little bit more complicated, some not so much. Some of them are more organic. You have like a peach, a lemon, and apple. And then you have more simpler things. You have like these are just cylinders with half cylinders. The hardest things to draw for me are probably like things like handles right here, where you have forms that sort of they it's like an archway, right? I guess if you were to like turn it that way, it makes more sense. If you were to just block it off, see, that makes more sense to me. But when you're drawing it in context of the full thing, it's like you have to do a lot of thinking, or at least I have to do a lot of thinking. Here we have, this is just some thumbnails for, I want to do a larger sort of like like not even like a sketch, just like a piece of art, mainly just to have around. Maybe I'll turn it into a print at a later point, but I was messing around with different compositions. You have sort of more the full house here. Here's just like a corner. I just didn't, I liked having like the full thing there so you can sort of see the perspective better. And this here I was trying, like emphasis on trying. I was trying to do a 3-point perspective, but yeah, I didn't care for that. So I think this is the one, or not that one, this is the one that I like the most. Here we have just a short little sort of study I did a couple of days ago for Inoue, and of course this was like a 30-minute study. Like, could you even call it a study? I don't know, but it's in here. And I was mainly construction, of course, because I'm always looking at construction when I'm drawing faces, but also like I was looking at like the hatching direction, which is something that we'll be looking at definitely today when we're doing our little study. And that leaves us with this is the last portrait sketch that I did, and this is of a person, and this was sort of incorporating sort of things I learned from Kim Jung-gi, things like line weight, sort of like having these like nice flowy lines and simplified shapes. Like you have like the messiness there, but then I was trying to balance that with sort of like the more delicate hatching of Inoue. And this is what I ended up with. Pretty rough, again, like a 30-minute endeavor. Nonetheless, I'm learning so much. So as far as it stands, we have 56 pages of this sketchbook completed, and if you look here, that's definitely over halfway. So we are nearing the second, I guess the last like third of this sketchbook, which is crazy, right? I know this is a smaller, shorter sketchbook, but still, just to think about it, that's a lot. That's a lot to do. Especially since I started this thing in August, right? Yeah, I started this thing on the 10th of August. It's currently mid-September. I'll probably finish this like first week of October, if I had to guess. So that puts me at about a month and a half, 2 months for one sketchbook. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And since you are all so great, you are all so nice, I'm going to show you the next sketchbook that I have. This one's like this. It's this big old square one, and it's not Bristol paper, but it is sort of just like let's try to see the GSM on this thing. It's 180 GSM, so it's like thicker paper for sure. But this entire sketchbook right here, I am dedicating purely to anatomy. I'm finally hunkering down, and I'm doing the thing that I'm most scared of doing, and I am going to be doing some structured anatomy studies. And because I don't like being a fish out of water, I did some research, and I found what I think is going to be the best resource, the best main, I'll use other resources, of course, the best main resource of study, and that is, of course, George Bridgman's Constructive Anatomy. Now, I'm fully aware that Bridgman's anatomy can be quite obtuse. but just from the all the things that I've read, it seems as if I would understand this more intuitively than other like art anatomy books. So, and it looks very daunting, but one thing that I have seen that Bridgman does with his anatomy is that I can like find like the best thing. It's a butt. Yeah, one thing that I know that he does with his anatomy is that for the purposes of education, he will exaggerate large masses and plane changes, not because you should draw them that way, but just to make a point. So I think that I like that a lot. That feels very intuitive to me because I do, as you've seen in my sketchbook, I do like the idea of having like breaking down things into sort of boxes and spheres and cones and whatnot. So I think now of course I haven't quite started studying yet, but I think that this will be good, a good resource. And I can't wait to start it. I can't wait to start. I'm sure it's gonna be very hard. I'm gonna do a lot of really crummy art, but it's something, it's direction, and we're gonna push on forward, so to say. Okay, I guess before we start our study, like the last thing that I want to like talk about basically is just sort of like my progress on In Circles. This is the journal that I use to do pre-writing. I don't have too much of it filled out. I've got maybe like, what is that? I feel like that much of it. There's so much I haven't written down in here that I need to like write down. You know what I mean? But like the main thing that I have been working on is that like I'm really trying to like nail down like the type of like story that I want In Circles Liminal to be. It's sort of like a prequel one shot, you know? And like the one thing that I'm like trying to do is like it's like I can't just like I don't want like a plot that's like and I want there to be sort of like emotional stakes, and I want there to be sort of like I want there to be some dynamicism with the characters. I want characters that, you know, that are hiding things. I want characters that are using knowledge to get leverage. I want characters that like doubt themselves and doubt each other, you know? Like I don't want it to just be like everyone loves each other, everyone trusts each other, everyone takes everything at face value. I want there to be a drama there. And so the way that I've sort of come up with it and sort of like how I'm going to structure this is that In Circles Liminal sort of centers around Harris and his younger brother Ulysses, as they're sort of like in this circle, which is like a paranormal zone, right? Or just like it's all incomprehensible. So the idea is that Harris is part of an organization known as Tangent, more specifically the, I guess you could say like militarized wing known as Radial, which is responsible for going into the zone, the circle. I'm sorry, the zone. I'm thinking about Stalker, but they're responsible for going into the circle, and they normally go in pairs. So like the idea is that Ulysses' mother knew that Tangent was going to take him away from her to basically be a soldier, right? And Harris and Harris's partner are tasked with going and pretty much like hunting her down to bring her back, right? And the main thing is that Harris and Ulysses are not related. So that's like the big thing I want to get across is that they're actually not blood related. But Yuli doesn't know this. So what happens basically is that through circumstances yet to be determined, Harris's partner and him end up finding Yuli's mother and Yuli. Something goes down. There's an altercation. Yuli's mother is shot and killed, and Harris has sort of like a consciousness moment, and he decides at the last minute to sort of like push his partner into an anomaly of the circle, um, and kill his partner basically, and he decides to take in Yuli to sort of be his younger brother. And because Harris used to be a corporate guy, he used to be a corporate guy who wanted to break away from the corporate world of Tangent and go experience the circle. He sort of like has a lot of knowledge about like paperwork and stuff, so he's able to sort of fudge some paperwork saying that his partner was actually actually just died in an accident, which is plausible for the circle. And he sort of fudges paperwork again so that Yuli is like an estranged sort of like brother or something, which again, like, this is a world that is sort of like corporatized, and sort of people die a lot. Identities are very like malleable, I guess you could say. And so Harris takes in Ulysses as a younger brother, and they grow up. And so by the time the story happens, Harris and Ulysses are going after a bounty. I'm trying not to like contrive too much, you know. So like, there's a lot that's still up in the air, but the bounty pretty much. Maybe he's not the brother of Harris's partner that he killed, but he's related to him in some way, right? But like, the irony is that Harris and Ulysses are tracking him down, and so the bounty ends up recognizing Harris, and through some level of contrivance, he knows what Harris did, right? But he doesn't just immediately be like, you're the guy that killed my brother, or this guy that was close to me. It's gonna be more like the bounty is going to play his cards and sort of try and drive a wedge in between Ulysses and Harris, mainly through Ulysses, because he's the more emotionally unstable one, and like the one who's most affected, because he doesn't know all that happened. Harris has not told him. And so like, what's going to happen is that, you know, they're going to be in this elementary school that's sort of, they're like locked in a little pocket dimension, and they're going to get separated. The bounty is going to try and sway Ulysses through more contrivance. The bounty and Harris are going to have an altercation, and the bounty is going to be like, hey man, like, Harris, like, he's not a good dude. Like, he's done bad things. But Ulysses is going to sort of like, in a fit of like rage, and sort of like, he like, in a way, he's like taking his anger out on Harris, but also like the bounty, he's gonna sort of like violently lash out against this bounty and like pretty much end up killing him. And then Harris is gonna sort of pull him away, and then that's when they're gonna have their sort of like their talk, you know, where they're like cards are laid out, here's what's going on. Does Ulysses forgive Harris for lying to him? Maybe. Yeah, like, partly. I would say he would. But it's still a wedge in their relationship. And it's definitely going to be something, it's going to be a tension that's going to be in their relationship that we're going to see sort of manifest in Yuli's journey for the full end circles. So that's pretty much how I'm going about it right now. It was a good sort of roadblock that I've made it past. So yeah. Don't steal if you steal my story, please credit me. It's like my biggest fear is that someone's gonna watch these streams and be like, this idiot just gave me his entire story idea. I'm gonna steal it. I mean, like, I guess you could, but it's like, I don't know, do you wanna like steal someone's like idea? I mean, people are doing that, but I mean, like, if you're gonna do that, just like plug it into an AI or something and make a really shitty version of it. Okay, that's all my show and tell. That's 30 minutes of show and tell. So, you know, the yapster is the yapping is back in session, and I know you guys have missed it. I'm gonna pull the camera back up to me. We're gonna show off sort of the little study doc that I've made, and we're gonna get into drawing. That's right, 30 minutes it has taken for me to get drawing. I know you guys love me. I know you do. I know you love the way that I just meander on topics. Okay. Here in the time that has passed since the last stream, 21 Pilots has released a new album titled Breach. I'm a big 21 Pilots fan. I've been to, oh my gosh, how many of their live shows I've been to? 3 of their live shows. Uh, I do like their music quite a bit, and this album is no exception. I actually like it a bit more than their previous album. But please go and give Breach a listen to. It's got some amazing songs on it. And it's one of the pretty much main things that I have been listening to here over the past week. Yeah. Okay. Hello. 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 Drink of choice today is a strawberry sparkling water. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Let me we're gonna pull up. I have this as a screenshot. Actually, no, it's not a screenshot. It's good. It's a screenshot in OBS. Like OBS considers it a screenshot. Here we have just the little study that I did last night concerning Inoue and sort of like construction in the way he like draws portraits, right? Where should I be? Should I be over here? Should I? Okay. This is good. This is good. So here's pretty much what I have deduced. Inoue is sort of the things that I want to study. So here's the thing with the study is that I don't think studies necessarily are like one-to-one copies. For study, we are picking an aspect of this artist that we like and that we want to incorporate into our own art, right? So we are picking something that we like, and we are looking at that thing more closely than the rest. And so that's pretty much what I'm doing here. What I'm really focusing on that I like with Inoue, and what I think is the hallmark of Inoue's art style, is his hatching, right? He has a very particular way of like rendering the shadows of the face, and it's very delicate, right? Especially when compared to sort of like the outlines or the thicker lines of the hair. So as you can see right here, you can definitely see it. Oh my gosh, where's the over there? I can like this little bit up here, the proportions section. This is sort of like doing a little construction outline of just like how he constructs faces. And if you look at it right here, even though we're looking at a slightly downturned angle, so it's not looking at you head on like I am right now, it's sort of his head is turned like a little bit like this, because you can see more of the left side of his face, and then his head is like turned down slightly. So his ears are a bit higher. You can see more of the top of his head. Regardless, it's not too distorted. You can see that sort of the proportions are that they're pretty close to a Luma's head, right? You have half of the head roughly, or like a third down from the hairline is the brow line. And then half of the remaining part of the face, that's the nose, and then the chin, right? Or I guess if you also want to look at it, it's the eyes fall halfway in between the top and bottom, and then the nose falls around halfway in between that. Then you have the mouth. That's sort of like, it's not halfway exactly, it's just a little bit further up. But you can sort of play around with that, I think, when you're playing around with like head construction. So those are the biggest hallmarks of his head construction, which is pretty realistic. To say it's not very stylized. The eyes might seem to be pretty big, but they're really not that big, right? It's just the way they're stylized with the lines and everything makes them look a bit bigger, right? I think that's what's going on there. We have exaggerated features like the eyebrows, which I love about Inoue. It's like he loves to, like Kim Jong-gi does this too. He'll like sort of create these like eyebrows that sort of they have this curvature to them, so there's some thickness towards the whatever this bone, I forget what this bone is called. The is like the occipital. No, that's like this bone right here. There's that bone right there. This sort of trapezoidal, which I really like. Sort of, especially when he's drawing men, you have like sharp chins and facial features. Depending on the character, of course. And if he's drawing female characters, they're a bit softer. Is there some gender dynamic thing? Is there some I'm not calling it problematic, but I'm just saying like, oh, all female characters have to have soft, round facial features. Not necessarily. True. It depends on what you're emphasizing. Do rounder shapes equal more feminine? You're the artist, and I'm the artist, I guess. So you can play around with that, and sort of the expectations there. We also see that we're getting into like the hatching. You can see that definitely around the eye sockets, he really likes. You'll see this with a lot of characters, even in like his female characters. There will be some degree of hatching where the sockets, where the skin right here sort of conforms a bit, where like the eye and the socket sort of like go in. So you can see it on my face right here because I've some those are going to be like the bags under your eyes, I guess you could say, but sort of right there. Very roundabout way for me to say that. Also, you'll have hatching that sort of depending on like what the type of sort of shadow we're seeing. If it's just a shadow of like the brow line right here, you'll see hatching that sort of conforms to the contour of said facial features. Same thing with like the nose, you'll have sort of, it'll follow the shape and the form of it. It's okay, Habes. I've just been yapping the entire time. I literally have been talking about like literally anything but like what we're supposed to be talking about this stream, so it's fine. But for things like cast shadows, especially if it's like, you'll see he'll do this thing a lot where he'll block out a cast shadow from the nose, which I really like. He'll use sort of like more horizontal hatching because that's the direction the light is coming from, and it just depends. And you're the artist, you will have to figure out sort of like what you want to emphasize and where. But just know that is a hallmark of Inoue, I found. You also see a lot of stacked hatching. And what I mean by stacked is that it's not cross hatching. It is cross hatching, right? But instead of like your traditional gridded cross hatching where you have perpendicular lines, what I'm saying is that he'll lay a line that is diagonal but still pretty horizontal, and then he'll go in with another set of hatching on top of it that's more, instead of it being like this, it's more like this. It's a very acute angle. And what that does is it builds up more layers, right? But it doesn't look very harsh. So that's what I mean when I kind of say he's like, he does delicate hatching, is that he doesn't press very hard. It's very light, but even in the bits where it's supposed to be darker, it's still very delicate because he is doing that stacked hatching method, which is something we will look at. We can also see that, as I said there, is that the hatching is relatively low contrast. It's, if you are talking about values, the darkness, it's not as dark as like the hair, right? That's like your pure dark value. But it's not completely light. It's sort of like, it's a mid-tone, but it's a lighter mid-tone, if that makes sense. We also see that like things like line weight will be heavier, especially if you look in like the chins. You'll see that like line weight will be heavier typically, where there would be a bit more like shadow, and it sort of like emphasizes the form. It's not as drastic as like Kim Jong-gi would do, I would say, but it is definitely still there. And another thing I love that he does is he'll do line weight, not through one thick continuous line. He'll sort of, using sort of the same lightness that he does his hatching with, he will build up sort of multiple lines, so it looks almost sketchy, but he's building a darker line that is following the form of the thing. Like if he did it underneath the nose, instead of doing one thick black line, he'll do sort of a couple sort of thinner lines, but he'll build them up. And what that does is it gives the hallmarks of a thicker line weight, but it's more delicate, which I love. And that's something I've sort of tried to incorporate into my own portraits. It's sort of like that building up of smaller lines to have more line weight, right? Drink up. Make sure you're drinking your water. And then of course, you see that the hair is crazy. It's another thing I love about Inoue. He has a lovely way of drawing hair. He uses a brush pen. I know this to be true because I've seen videos of him drawing. And even though he's using such a simple tool to do the hair, you would think you would just plop it down and sort of go outwards. It's very difficult to do. And he's a master of it for a reason. So that's something we will try to replicate. Will we succeed? I'm not quite sure. But it's something that I like when he draws his hair. So what are we going to be focusing on in today's study? We're going to be focusing on primarily on hatching. Like, where are we doing our hatching? What's the direction of the hatching? How dark, how light? And then the rest of it comes secondary, right? So that's really what we are going to be focusing on. We want to look at things like form, light sources, so on and so forth. So yeah, if you are going to be drawing along, I'm going to be doing this digitally, so I'm going to have that up on the screen. This is totally something you could do traditionally. If you are watching this and you're like, I want to draw along, you can do this traditionally. I showed in my sketchbook. I've done it traditionally. It's not that different, honestly. The only reason I'm doing it digital here today is because it's easier to show for you. And I think that we have a little bit more leeway with sort of like the quality of line that we're gonna be seeing here. So yeah. Hip says when I try his hairstyle, I can't come close. I need to watch this video of him. Yeah, there's a few of them. There's a documentary where sort of he is making a chapter of Vagabond, and he is trying to meet a deadline because like the deadlines for manga are like 1 week and like crazy. A lot of time he's trying to meet a deadline, and he's sort of like on his paper, which is much bigger than like even like A4 size paper. Like manga paper is pretty big when you're working traditionally, so it's like he has a bit more room for like gesture, right? But you can see him with his brush pen. He's sort of doing the hair, and he makes it look very easy. It is not easy. So I'm with you there. It is so hard to replicate. I don't remember the exact name of the documentary. If I find it later, I will put that in the Discord. Can't guarantee it though, because I don't remember what it's called. I'm sure if you just look up Vagabond documentary, you could find. I'm getting really close to the camera again. It is very good to watch pros. Not even just because like I need to watch these pros to get in on their secrets, but more so it's like it's nice to see sort of their physical technique. You know, like what tools are they using? How are they sitting? Not too important, but you can sort of start to like get into the mindset of these artists, right? So yeah, let's go ahead, and we're going to first and foremost, I'm gonna get my drawing tablet set up over here. This is gonna take a moment. I'm also gonna need to open up my drawing app and get that all formatted for the stream. So bear with me here. This is going to take a moment. I also need to find a reference image. I did not get a reference image for the first sketch we're going to do. So I'm going to be opening Pinterest. I know there's some Vagabond manga panels on Pinterest because it is a very prolific piece of media. So it should not be very hard to find a high-res image, a high-res scan of said manga. So while I'm getting this set up, let's talk some business. By business I mean let's just talk about um let's just talk about the movies that I've been watching. I've been recently watching through the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And um I've watched the first three, so up until At World's End. Uh, First movie's fantastic. Second movie's pretty good. Third movie, it's fun, I guess. Yeah, but like, dude, what were they smoking when they made that movie? They were smoking. They were smoking the joint that makes you color grade your movie really gray. Whatever that joint is, they were smoking it. It is like freaking gray and drab, and the last movie wasn't like that. Yeah. Oh, what are fall lives leaking? What are I can't read. I can't speak. What are fall leaves like in Tennessee? Fall leaves in Tennessee are beautiful and they're everywhere and they get all in your door whenever you open the door. It's not we're not full in fall. Yeah, like we're still uh like edging slightly and slightly closer into fall. But we're having some leaves start to fall. So like with fall leaves in like the south here, is that you sort of get the smaller leaves and sort of they change color a little bit, but then you have like a week where everywhere, every tree all at once turns brown and red, and it is the most beautiful thing that you have ever seen, especially on like a sunny day, uh, like a sunny morning, a crisp autumn morning is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And then you get a couple of rainstorms and it starts to get really windy, and then all of a sudden all the leaves just fall off at once, and they are everywhere. They're like all in your the grills of your car. They're getting into your door whenever you open the door, and they fall all over the ground, and they are just everywhere, and it's brown and dreary, and the falls here they get very rainy, especially as we near into winter, and it's just miserable. That's an exaggeration, of course, but that's sort of like the ebb and flow that I've seen. But the fall here is great. The Tennessee is nice, right? It's not nice for some reasons, which I will not be getting into here. But the natural beauty of the state is not something to scoff at. Um, yeah, let's pull up my drawing. Okay, and it says, see, I love it here because it says it's capturing my application, but then when I look at it, it's not doing it. So okay, um, let's see here. Oop, nope, I'm small. I'm small now. Hello. Hello. Oh, one thing I've wanted to try, and this is gonna be sort of like weird, but I've been wanting to crop this. I want to be a little square at the bottom. Sounds gorgeous. It's gorgeous sometimes. There are times where I'm like, this is the most beautiful state ever. And then there are other times where I'm like, this is the most miserable place on earth. Not even like naturally, just because like the rain here can, I guess that's like the price you pay. You want beautiful scenery. You're gonna have to get a lot of rain. You want greenery, you need so much rain. So very much rain. So very much rain. Is that an actual sentence? I don't think so. Can I shrink that a little bit? Does that, I don't know exactly what I'm doing here. Well, I do know what I'm doing here. I'm yapping. That's what I'm doing. Transform. Center that to the screen. Looks good. Doesn't look good to you. Looks good to me. But yeah. Wonder where would the best place for the camera down here be? Do we want it like really small? I can be way down here. It could be way up here. I've seen some. I've been watching a lot of like clips from the Northern Lion. I don't know if you've seen Northern Lion uh, stream clips. Very funny. Only ever never watched one of his streams in full. I've just seen like the compilated clips, but the way that he does his camera, it's always a little box. I find it very appealing. We're way down here. Hello. I can do this. I can point up here. Like, wait. It's like I'm holding up the application with my hands. Oh, hello. Oh, whoa. That's I'm like Atlas holding up the world. Boom, baby. Okay. All right. All right. Your job is chat. Your job is chat. Okay. If for some reason my application capture here starts to freeze, I'll tell you when I actually start drawing. Because the application capture can be weird and can be very weird with OBS. You let me know. You say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. You psycho. You say you're drawing something, but you're actually not drawing something. You need to yell at me and say, hey, Buster. Like right there. I'm drawing a thing right there. Is that is that showing up on there? It should be. Okay. Yeah. So it's currently working. It might not be working later. I can't guarantee that. Okay, so there's that right there. Let me get my little. What I love about this drawing pad is it comes with a little well, sort of hold my pen in, so I can have that off to the. Yikes! I dropped it. It's good. Okay, perfect. I'm going to quickly go into Pinterest. I'm going to screenshot. I'm gonna find a reference image that we're gonna copy from. I'm not too particular in like what it is exactly that we're looking for. But we're just looking for something that demonstrates what we're looking for in sort of like the hatching. I'm finding the most perfect, not perfect reference image. I'm getting a lot of ads for boots and shoes. I love you, Pinterest. Never change. Never change. There's a 2019 movie called Vagabond. Don't they know what they're competing with? They should know, right? Okay, I think I passed one that I like. As I was saying earlier, I've been watching the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and they are so ridiculous, and their plot. Okay, so the first movie is very simple, and it's actually I like its simplicity. But then sort of the first movie it's at something, and the next two try and like trilogy it out, and it doesn't work. All that well, I think they try and shove a lot into two movies. My least favorite thing about the Dead Man's Chess and At World's End is that all of the characters are always lying to each other, which is fine for your characters, but there's never a point where like any character is like actually being truthful. But the thing is that like the movie does a poor job of cluing the audience into what a character's actual intentions are. In a very like I don't know. It becomes very hard to follow character motivations in those movies because they're pirates, they all have to be lying at all times to get what they want, which is fine. Especially like when you're looking at like Jack Sparrow, because I am not drawing currently. No, I'm looking for a reference image. Sorry, I'm yapping while I'm looking for a reference image. But Captain Jack is a pirate, and he's always supposed to be lying and conniving, which is fine. You know, I'm okay with that. But the second that the other characters start doing it, and they do it as much as Jack, oh good lord, it becomes so incredibly hard to find to find out exactly what these characters want. That's my honest to god review of Pirates of the Caribbean. And I still have yet to watch the final two movies. I'll get to at some point. Oh, You know what? Ooh, we could do. So this is one that I've actually done on a postcard before, and I think it does demonstrate sort of. Yeah, this one might be the one. This one does demonstrate, I think, pretty well what it is that I like about. Oh my God, just open up the thing, man. Open it up. Can we not do that? Please. Open image in new tab. Yes, please. No, the image is incredibly big. Why is it so big? Um, Weird. Save image as. Perfect. That should be good enough. Uh, the thing that I love most about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies is that they are just so incredibly sort of they're just fun, you know. Uh, why am I want to be in Krita, not OBS? Did I do it? Am I drawing currently? Yes and no. No and yes. They're just fun, you know. Yeah, there we go. That's the reference image I'm gonna be using. I guess I could have it as a reference image to the side, but I think it's easier for you guys if I had it in there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing with Krita that for sometimes it'll just delete a layer, especially if it's like a reference image. So we're gonna see uh, if we can not have that happen, you know? So here's the sitch. All right. We're gonna be doing a little bit of we're gonna do a little pencil. We're gonna do a little pencil underlay. We're gonna get the sort of the construction to be in a place that I find adequate, and then we're gonna go over and we're gonna do a little bit of inking, and we're gonna pay attention to sort of that hatching a bit more closely. So, is that a good size? I think that's a good size. So here's sort of what we're gonna try and do. We're gonna I'm never too good, especially digitally when we're looking at sort of. Does that look good? That looks pretty good. Especially digitally, sort of like getting like this initial construction down can sometimes be a little jarring, a little daunting. But one thing I do see is that you can see right here is that if we're gonna see like that's the chin, top of the head is like up there-ish. We can see the eyes do fall about halfway through. So we're gonna do that pretty much. We're gonna say that there's a little bit of a lean right here, right? And then the eyes are gonna fall like halfway ish. And one thing I will say is that the the tilt is not that exaggerated. It's more like that right there, right? Gosh, I love working in a digital medium. I can just cheat and fake my way. I just cheat and fake my way into sort of having good proportions, which is what we want as artists, right? We love cheating and faking our way into things. See that the brow line is like there ish. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get the face shape down because that's gonna inform where we do the rest of it, right? So thing I find is that the turn of that there sort of falls in line with the nose, which is like there-ish. So it's gonna be like that right there. That sort of comes down. Yeah, this is a block in. You know, I'm not trying to get it perfectly exact. We'll probably go in afterwards and sort of tighten it up a little bit. Yeah, so like one thing I've noticed here is that I've made this very sort of too thick. I'm gonna move that in a little bit to away. That is a bit more conducive to creating a good face shape, right? And this is sort of what I would be doing if I were doing it traditionally, you know what I'm saying? I would be doing a lot of sort of like erasing and sort of like redrawing a lot of the same line a lot of the times. Yeah, so then we got the shape of the head sort of up here. You know, flatten a little bit because he's wearing like a little. Is that a do-rag? It's not a do-rag. It is. It is not a do-rag, but it is something. That's just a bandana. So we know we got his nose right here, which is a pretty teeny tiny little teensy weensy nose, right? So not incredibly big. Then we have his eyes, which are sort of, if we're gonna look at sort of, eyes will normally fall an eye length away from each other. Like that, right there-ish. Maybe they're a bit further apart here. Let me see. No. Yeah, they just might be a bit bigger. I think that's sort of like where I fudged it up there. Instead, let's just, because we know they're falling sort of like in line with the edge of the nose, so it's like right there-ish. I love drawing. Love digital drawing. So like digital drawing can be a, can sometimes it could be a mess, you know, especially I'm working with a lot of things that maybe aren't like too intuitive currently, so like that's sort of like a thing that I'm trying to like, because not that I want to always do stuff digitally, but I want to be able to have the option, especially when it comes to like digital cleanup. I think having the option would be nice, you know. um yeah, and then we got sort of the eyebrows here, sort of, you know, we got here we have the sort of this little plane going on right there, eyebrows, and they sort of whoop, whoop, which I love. I love that. I love these little eyebrows from this fellow. I think the, I think that's a little bit more like that, right? And then I like his mouth here because it's sort of, it would fall like a little halfway, but just like a bit above. We're looking at sort of the whatever that thing is, and then we see that the edge of the mouth is sort of like here in the middle of the eyes, so it's like there and there. And then so he's like, you know, he's doing a cheeky little smile, right? So you see a bit of that going on there. Yeah, what I really like here is sort of, what I really like here is how you can see right here, like this thing right here, it's sort of showing that like the top lip is like a muscle is sort of like protruding out a little bit because he is like smirking, you know. I think that's a very cool little flourish of the form there. So sort of, and we got that down there. Cool. It's perfect. So perfect. Yawn. You ever just get so sleepy? I'm always sleepy. Actually, I had a full thing of coffee before eye before I came in here for the stream today. Definitely. So here's the thing that we'll see, like with the nose in particular, is what I'm talking about. Is you have this like light, delicate hatching that follows the form of the nose. You know what I mean? Sort of like see that right there, and it swoops up to the eyebrow, right? But then you have this cast shadow, which I love, that falls down a little bit into the eye, and then it sort of comes up around. Then that sort of down here. That's sort of down right there. So you have this like cast shadow thing going on right here. And you have sort of the eyes, which are following. Oh, how straight do we want that to be? You can see he's sort of like, he's doing a cheeky little squint there. He rounds sort of the outside edge of the eye, right? And it comes into more of a point, sort of in over here. Like that right there. And then you have like the this right there. It's looking a little silly right now, but we got to get all the other stuff in. And because his head is downturned a little bit, again, like the previous one, we'll have to sort of look at the ears here, as they're only going to be a little bit higher than maybe what we would normally expect. But they still sort of. What I like about this reference here is that we are catching him from a sort of from a heads-on view. You know, this is pretty straight on. Sort of need to block that in a bit better. You see my cat? I don't know if you can see my cat over here currently, but it's gonna like round in, right? Same thing with that's gonna go down. Cool. Eyebrows, like up here-ish, right? So that comes down like that right there. Maybe his nose needs to be a little bit longer. What do you think? I think that is definitely the case here. I think we're gonna move that. It needs to be a little bit longer. Maybe just the entirety of all of this needs to extend just a little bit further down. If I were doing this like on paper, I would have to like erase everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the issues of like traditional. It's that like your pre-process can oftentimes be very messy. But the trade-off with that, with like digital, is that you got like the cleanliness and the tools, but sort of like you lack that sort of like tactility that I think makes a word awful line there. Yeah, you do lack a lot of like that tactility that makes drawing on paper feel so good. And we have sort of his silly, crazy hair sort of coming out right here. Then you have the structures of the ear, like that. Okay. And then sort of coming down right here, you have his robe. It's more like that right there. I guess we're not trying to be too perfect with this right here, but then we see the rest of the robe comes over here. Then I assume it sort of like meets down here at some point, and then we got sort of the rest of his body. So this is kind of what we're basically looking at right here. What we're gonna do is, like if you see this right here, we're gonna try and sort of, we're gonna be doing a lot of hatching, basically. That's pretty much what I'm gonna be trying to accomplish right here. It's a bit rough. It's a rough sketch, obviously, right? But we're gonna go in with an ink. We're gonna turn the opacity down right here of this layer. We're gonna turn down a little bit. We're gonna go in with our, I think we're gonna do an ink pen rough, right? There, obviously. Yeah, we're gonna go with our ink pen rough because I think it doesn't give us too much line weight variation, but it does give us enough. We're gonna go bit by bit, and we're gonna sort of try and like render this out in a way we find pleasing, right? So the one thing that I see right here that I like to start with is I always like to start with the eyebrows and sort of the nose. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna start with the eyebrows because I think they're like the most easy thing to do. So one thing I noticed that he does with the eyebrows, which I like, is that he'll block in this shape, you know? He'll block in this shape and then he lets it sort of like freely move out here, you know? So it's like boom, boom, and then it sort of comes out like that. And what he does is that he'll take, this is gonna require some twisting of the canvas here. He'll do is he will do a lot of hatching in the direction of the flow of the eyebrows. Of course, I just messed up a lot of that trajectory. He'll do that right there with the, I'm gonna like turn this a bit more because they flow outwards a little bit. Kind of like that right there. This is perfect. Of course, like this is like a study. We are looking at sort of the what is it? Looking at the direction of the hatching is what we're like looking at here. And he'll go in. You can see up here. And then he'll go in and sort of like do some cross hatching in order to darken it up, especially towards the edges there. So like he'll one thing that I'll always have issue with sort of like doing these like digital pieces is that the what's the word? Finding like where you're like getting like especially like hatching, like getting very even with these like hatching marks can be quite difficult, especially when you're considering like the pressure sensitivity of the yeah. Anyway, it can be very frustrating, you know. Another thing that I think he does well is, aside from the eyebrows, he really is capturing this sort of the nose, and you can see here he does sort of like this double line thing that follows the contour of the nose. So we're gonna try that. I'm gonna try and do that a little bit. We'll sort of that's definitely not what we were trying to do. So we know it sort of goes out a little bit and it sort of like that right there. And so we got sort of like this like darker line that falls up a little bit. That's just kind of showing the fold in the nose, or not the fold in the nose, but like sort of that part of the nose a bit more, you know. And of course, we have this sort of this line where it sort of comes down a little bit, then it flattens out a little because this is going to be our cast shadow. Remember, why is my cat being naughty back there? He shouldn't be doing that. And we see sort of that over there, and it sort of comes around over there, and then it fades a little, and then it's sort of blocking that out. I guess the next one will sort of we'll go to the eyes. I think the eyes. I'm not too like serious about sort of rendering out the entire detail of like how he does eyes, but just know he uses like these thick blacks for like the upper lashes, and then they sort of like come down to this thicker bit. And then for the bottom, he sort of keeps them as thick, but he hatches out words from the eye. It's what we're gonna try and we're gonna try and do here, you know. Oops. Try and keep it in line as much as I can. So one thing with like doing eyes is that you really just have to, you know. Sorry. It sort of like thickens out right there. And you know, he sort of like does a little that bit right there. It's very rough, by the way. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Turn the paintler off. Yeah, it looks better when you don't have the crummy underdrawing underneath it. You know what I'm saying? Guess I could also be like doing this number. I think it's no, yeah, doing that. Which we're looking at it. What am I doing? What am I doing? This needed to be lowered a little bit. Getting a little bit better. Yeah, I think so. I really am just like raw dogging it right now as far as like the like my entertainment because I am not listening to music currently. I guess I can do that a bit better. Yeah, that's good enough there. I'm gonna black these in because I really like blacking and sort of like that's sort of a personal thing. Lovely. So next thing he does here, and I maybe I should have like maybe I should have done this a bit better. It's like a reference image. Wait, maybe I'm just bringing the reference image a little bit closer, so I don't have to keep on going back. A bit better. Habe says, "It's not a movie, but I started watching The Penguin. That is such a good show. Yeah, the Penguin is fantastic. It's not perfect, but what is perfect, you know, in this imperfect world of ours? Yeah. What episode are you on? Because I don't obviously I don't want to spoil anything that you haven't seen yet, but uh, I the characters are very they're very well done. They're well done like a steak. So here we're getting to the part what I was talking about with like the cast shadow. You know what I'm saying? So is that that's like the upper eyelid, of course. Um, like this right here, which is sort of like a little. The I think that the penguin's greatest strong suit as a show is that Colin Farrell is just such a good actor. Um, like Colin Farrell is way too good as like the Penguin. I think we can all agree is that like he plays that gangster role so incredibly well. Um, Good lord. is what I'm looking for right here. Is that the hatching sort of very like minimal. It's also like maybe that a bit too. What am I doing? Keep on following that trajectory a bit too much. It's more like out here. It's following sort of that little bit underneath the eye for the eye socket. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Yeah, one thing he's doing here is that he's sort of doing like the eyelashes that are kind of like that. And he's also sort of, you can see here, he's building up sort of like that stacked layering that I was talking about earlier underneath the eyes. Oh, you're happy because who cares about leaving, learning more about the penguin? Let the performance, seeing is he's so good and Sophia fucking. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, what is her name? I can't remember the actor's name. She's fantastic. She was in like How I Met Your Mother or something like that. I think. I can't remember exactly, but no, she is wonderful. And again, I won't spoil with how far you are. You learn a lot about her character, you know. Um, so especially like towards like those like final episodes, you get a lot more from her, and she is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Great show. I love how the penguin in this universe is he's like Adam Sandler's character in Uncut Gems, but like I don't know, a bit more likable. He is like this compulsive liar. Instead of being like a compulsive gambler, he is like this compulsive liar who just cannot stop making deals with people. And he's just a two-time, and he's such a heartless, cruel bastard, and you'll see that more into fruition. And I like how they sort of they try and humanize him. He is this guy and he's looking out for his mother, and it's like you get to see a lot more of that as the series goes on, and sort of his relationships with other people, how those develop, and then Sophia Falcone, just great. What a great, just a fantastic character. She's probably my favorite character in that show, honestly. And when she's introduced, you don't want her to sort of be that sort of token, like badass like female character. It's like I think when you're like writing for female characters, it's like should I don't need to be told that they're like empowered females. I want you to like show it to me instead of like talking about it. And I think the show does a great job with that, because it's I think female characters deserve sort of that they deserve that depth and breadth that the male characters get. It's just my opinion. Yeah, that's right. I've fallen for the woke mind virus. It's hatching is so rough. It's because I'm still not quite used to. Still not quite used to digital. I think my strengths. You can see I don't have the technical capability that Inoue has for sure. Um, but hatching direction, that's what we're looking for. Remember. And you can sort of see right here, he's doing that thing where he's sort of, you can see it up here. He's building up the hatching a little bit. Some of it is intersecting to be a bit darker. Just to be a little bit darker. So we're gonna sort of take it over here. There needs to be like an easier way to move the canvas. I'm exaggerating I'm not getting the quite correct, the angle of this stacked hatching, but I think the do as I say, not as I do. Just darkening it a little. Going over here. He's also, I know he's using like a G pen whenever he's like doing all this too. And G pens like have like a crazy amount of like flexibility, you know. This character's got like these big old eyelashes. I like normalize drawing your male characters, okay? Normalize drawing your male characters with big, beautiful eyebrows. It's not just for the women, okay? It's for everyone. You can sort of see like what we're building up here with the rendering. My point stands. What I love right here is that like this is very like high key right here, like on this side of the nose. So it's like it's washed out, and you're not getting a lot of detail here. So you don't need to show all of like every nook and cranny and like every plane change. That is definitely like reserved for it's reserved for, what's the word? It is reserved for like the bits that we want to see, right? The bits that we want to have like all of that detail. I think for this like facial outline over here, I'm gonna switch to a brush pen preset because I think that we need that. So it comes out, it's pretty like that. And it comes down and it gets pretty thick right here. And it gets thin again. And same over here. I know we can't see it. I don't think you can see it in the actual manga panel from what I remember. The manga panel. But we can assume it follows a similar sort of level of thickness here. And that sort of, it's so rough doing all this twisting and turning. I got my mouse pad in the way. That's pretty thin there, so we need to. I'm gonna turn off this. Nope. The underdrawing, we're gonna I clean that up a little. Believe it or not, this is how I did the what's the word? I did the thumbnail for my last video here in Krita, and I'm very proud of it. It was very difficult because that needs to be in a little more. It was pretty difficult because I had to do a lot of sort of Photoshoppy stuff, which I'm not really used to. I did have to do a lot of Photoshoppy type things with the program, and it was a lot of like cutting out like shapes and stuff. No. Now we're coming with the eraser. I don't want to spend too much longer on that. It's gonna frustrate me if I just continue to do just that. But we're gonna go back to using our soil ink pen. Yeah. See that we have some very light hatching here. Do we get the philtrum? Is that what that's called? That part where you sort of your lip sort of connects to your nose, I believe. So I'm looking at the time here. I know I said we were going to do an application after this. In typical me fashion, we probably won't get there. So sorry about that. I was not anticipating this part taking as long, but I guess compared to the Kim Jong-gi bit, especially, um, of course, like in a way is a lot more sort of technical in his hatching and stuff, and there's a lot more for us to sort of glean here and garner. So we're probably going to skip the application phase, and we're just going to do this study right here, even though this is kind of application. You know how I mean? So we're going to no, so it comes up like up here. This part would be like sort of like where the sort of like the side plane of the skull, you know, is. That's why we're doing this like vertical or horizontal hatching, right? We're looking at sort of right here. That's where the, when I say like we got like cast shadow and form, this would be like a form shadow that we're seeing right here, because specifically the side plane of the face is right there. Quality over quantity. Yeah, you're right. Yapping over not yapping. Can we get a poll going where like a yes or no poll, like should I delete the channel if I keep on talking too much? I think that that would be a pretty good sort of a poll to have. I wanna like I over we say quality over quantity as I'm producing what is probably like the worst quality line that I've ever seen in my entire life. Just shaving away at it, just shaving away at it. It's so hard to have good wine quality, and when you're doing this shoot crap, when you're doing all this. It's okay, it's okay. We're doing like carving here. What we're doing. This is pretty good. I see a lot of people when they talk about drawing, it's like you want to be very sculptural, you know, especially when you're like painting. I think that's like a big painting thing, but it's like we definitely like we want to have that sort of like structure going, right? And what's more structure than anything? Sculpture. So it's like see a lot of like you got to think of like when you're drawing as sort of like you're carving away at like marble, you know. See what I'm doing right here. See how like when he like does his line weight for like this upper lip part, he like doubles up on Jesus. He doubles up on the line there. So he gets a slightly thicker line, right? Right, he gets a slightly thicker line. So he gets the all the benefits of having like a thicker line, but it still looks delicate. Same thing right here. He's building up these lines right here. Because we're looking at this character from the like he's looking down ever so slightly, we are what's the word? The top lip is sort of creating this little arch shape. Let me see right here. You know, if you were looking at me from there, you see like, so it doesn't meet in the corner exactly. It sort of stacks over the lower lip here, which is one thing that I think will kind of like elevate your what's the word? Your construction of sort of like lips and such. You know, like here a bit more. Yes. Yeah, that's one thing that I think will like aid your construction of lips is treating sort of instead of like groupings of lines, which certainly is groupings of lines, right? Everything's groupings of lines if you really break it down. You want to think of it as a like a three-dimensional form. Think of it as like those simple shapes that are you know, gonna be present. And then we use that to inform other anatomical decisions. But especially like with lips, I've had such a hard time dealing with like how do I draw lips, right? That's very hard. Says the beginner artist. Says the beginner artist. Oh, drawing's hard. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, we know. His hatching is so incredibly delicate. You know? Look at that. Look at that. He has such, he's not doing this digitally, of course, but he has such an amazing control over the brush, you know. Like a little like line right there. Hey Ibs, if you are still watching, your a little sketchbook tour that you posted, really good. I enjoyed that quite a bit. You inspired me to like do a little sketchbook tour for mine. Well, I was like planning on doing it, but you inspired me to like get more of like a head start over it because I was being lazy, and I was like, well, I need to get this out in order to sort of like push for the sketchbook tour to like get to more people because I think shorts are good for that. But I saw yours and I was like, fine. So thank you for being an inspiration to me. It helped get in my ruts, you know. So one thing that we're seeing right here with the hatching on the upper lip is that you're seeing it sort of like follow this arch-like. You're seeing it follow this arch-like radial radiance. You know what I mean? And it's conforming to the actual form of the lip itself. Same thing with this bottom lip. You see, sort of like have it sort of come out this way, and then over here. I guess I can turn the paint layer off. Yeah, no problem. I know that commenting helps with engagement for like videos and stuff. So like anytime I can like comment to help someone out, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this hatching doesn't need to be that aggressive. It needs to like sort of like taper off slightly. You know what I mean? But yeah. Again, his hatching is so much more delicate than mine. He sort of builds this up a little, and it comes here. And you can see sort of like there's a bit of a rounding with like this bottom lip down here, especially as it like comes into this like little smirk, this smile, like that right there. Thanks for the double comment. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, what? This guy has his own personal. I use my own like personal YouTube account to spy on people. You know what the crazy thing though is that your short actually got recommended to me through like my like personal account first, which is normally pretty weird because I normally try and keep my personal account to be not art related, and then like vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, I was like, oh, like the algorithm is like pushing this to me, which was like good for you, I guess. But like I was very what's the word? I was very surprised because normally it will not do that. So the algorithm favors you, and then I was like, I'll go and like watch it and follow my other account to get you the double engagement, right? You're it is very odd, yeah, but I mean, hey, the algorithm works in mysterious ways. That's just the YouTube algorithm, man. That's the algorithm, man. It's like, it's cringe, but it is what it is. You know, we can't be too caught up in like the goings ons of the YouTube algorithm. I'm still really not happy with sort of this right here. I do think that this needs to be in just a little bit sharper than that. Also, Habes, you did put in the, you also put in the Discord. You said with the little the from an I can't speak today. The from imagination sketch. Also, really good. You did a really good job with the shading on that. Um, I don't want to say I'm proud because I'm like that's like something like a father would say, and also like that like implies like an air like a hierarchical stance. I think I think that it was very good. Do you use the DJI app to edit my videos? Are you talking about the just the shorts specifically, or like all of my videos? Because different answers for both of them. Man, I love shape carving. My favorite thing to do ever. I like the messy look though. Yeah. Yeah. Respect me as a art elder. Hey, I had to break it to you. I'm 12 years old. I'm a 12-year-old boy. uh, I'm pretty young though. I'm like 13. There's a bug on my thing. Ew. Yeah, I'm like 13-ish. You know what I'm saying? I love to watch streamers show my editing process. I do such a good job. Thank you. If you'd want to see that, I mean, like, I could totally do that. And I say that a lot, like, oh yeah, I'll totally do that. If you'd want to see an editing stream, I mean, I like editing. I just feel like other people would find it very like mundane. So I don't really like show a lot of that process. Like, I'll show like timelines and stuff. But like, I don't always like show off every little thing that I'm doing. But if you would want to, I can do that. So for my shorts, I use CapCut. That's what I use. Mainly because I don't need to be at home on my computer in order to edit shorts. Shorts, a lot of the time, I will edit during like my lunch breaks at work. I know I'm doing such an awful job with like the hatching here. I'm doing a lot of scribbling, but that's my bad. Yeah, I do a lot of the shorts editing during like breaks at my work, or forgive me for being so crass, but if I'm ever like on the toilet instead of like doom scrolling on my phone, I'll be like, I'll edit some videos. Products. We're releasing I'm not gonna complete that thought. But yeah, I do edits on CapCut for my shorts. I have a lot of like preset stuff saved in there, so it makes it a bit easier, and I can sort of fine tune the process a little bit better. For my normal videos, though, I use DaVinci Resolve, which is a free editing software that has a paid version, but the free editing software is just as good. And has a lot of, what's the word? There's a lot of tools that you can use. I quite like DaVinci. And it's taken a lot to like learn. So like that's a thing with like learning like any sort of like software. Like right now it's like I'm learning Krita. There's a lot of nuances that you sort of have to pick up on. I have the added benefit of having a brother who also uses DaVinci Resolve yeah, production's production, right? I have a brother who uses DaVinci Resolve also to edit his videos, and so sort of I have that communicative outlet to like troubleshoot and like share tips and everything, which is nice. You know, we teach each other how to use different things, like, and you know, we get to talk about it a lot. My point being is that I've spent a lot of time sort of like learning the program. Why am I not zoomed in? Why am I not just be zoomed in? So if you want to see I mean, like, heck, I can, when I start editing together my Last Guardian video. I can show part of the editing process. If you see right here, the hatching is vertical because that's sort of the form of the ear, and it's also a bit of a cast shadow, but it gets darker and more black as you sort of get into the depths of the ear. But then out here, you kind of got just some little indication of sort of the outside edge of the earlobe, which is just insanely fine. And I know he's using a smaller pen and he's working on a bigger sheet of paper and he's not having to like rotate his canvas in this stupid way that I am, but point still stands. Yes, please. Okay. I will say I'm not an amazing editor. What's the word? I'm very amateur. Okay, so I'm a big believer in sort of like scripting first, editing second. Because I feel like as a creative, I have a lot of control over sort of like my script writing process, and I think that editing should serve and like supplement. Uh, this is like a thing that I've come to realize like over time. I think editing should like supplement, for me at the very least, your your like script. I'm not saying you have to write a script for everything, but I'm getting into the habit definitely. We're seeing a stacked hatching thing going on here, by the way, to darken it up. But yeah, I'm definitely like trying to iron out all the kinks in the flow of video through like the script writing process first, and then editing comes in second. And editing is like I try and keep it like not fancy and like minimal, but like I want the what's the word? I want the overall I want the overall I want the B-roll and stuff that I use to like be the main draw, not like the edit. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna carve away this because I mess it up too much. This isn't looking too bad. When I started, I was like, I lost my ability as an artist. I suck. I'm looking at it like, oh baby, I'm not so bad. This eye. It's this eye again. I could definitely use another rework though. Mubby, where are you? Where do you need to be? You need to be just up a little bit more. Maybe that eye was in the right place. Maybe it's the other eye. Okay, I think it's the other eye that needs to be lowered a little bit. You know, trial and error. Definitely, I like. Let's see how inflammatory I can make this statement. I like editing shorts more than I like editing the larger videos. Mainly that's just because shorts come together faster, and sort of like you can see the vision a little bit quicker. You know what I mean? So it's like I do enjoy editing the shorts just a little bit more. That being said, I still enjoy editing the larger videos. Long form is just it's such a beast. Especially like when the reward is definitely like a lot less instantaneous than I feel like maybe it should be. I think the algorithm is like kind of stupid, especially here recently. I know the spacing here isn't perfect for this, but it's gonna have to do. right? And this could have been ironed out in the sketch phase, but I'm a lazy son of a gun, you know. And I'm also messing with my digital tools to see what's up. Damn. You think? That's as good as we're gonna get. I'm getting sleepy. You can tell I'm getting sleepy because I'm so stupid. No, I'm getting sleepy because I'm like I'm at a loss for words. I've not eaten dinner yet, by the way. It's that's on my mind. What is got dinner on my mind? I think I'm going tomorrow. I'm going to a mall, so I can go to an H&M and buy some fall clothes. You dig? So it's when I say like fall clothes, I've been donating a lot of clothes because I've been donating a lot of clothes because I am uh getting like dissatisfied with my wardrobe. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I think we got a lot of all the hatching of like the face done. Yeah, I've been very dissatisfied with the state of my wardrobe. I'm trying to develop like a unified sort of like style. So like I wanna be like a on one hand I want to be a chill guy who only wears neutral colors, but like I also want to uh like wow people with like my sense of like my sense of like put togetherness. I wanna prove to people that I indeed have it together. A little crumply here. We are sort of seeing. So here's the thing with like we're dealing with like sort of like the hair here is that it's very flowy, you know. It tapers weird though, so it's like I don't know if this is like the best pen for it. I just have to be very conscious of like see, this is the good thing that I can do this with like this pen and like doing this part digitally because I can sort of kind of like I can do a little bit of like erasing, a little bit of forgery, you know, so I can get it a bit more like quote unquote perfect. Not that I recommend you like you do that because if I was doing this sort of non-digitally, there would be a lot of like second guessing myself and some like bad tangents and stuff, and I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I can't really fix that now. Yeah, he always gets I know the brush he's using. It's like a big old thick thing. Sort of he gets the flyaways really good. As a guy who like used to have long hair, I can appreciate when like people like draw hair correctly, you know what I'm saying? Or they can get down the experience of like having like long hair accurately. It's like all these like flyaways and stuff, like man, I feel that with my soul. My very the very every instant fiber of my being, I feel it. These little folds here are not important, so I'm not gonna just know that they like originate because they're like wrapped around the head, and so they kind of like have like pinch points right here, especially where they like fold, you know what I'm saying? And it's textured too, of course. What? A cat. Does he want me to be done with the stream? I think he does. What's wrong, buddy? What's wrong, Pepper? Come up here. I don't know if you can see him in the camera here. No, you can. Yeah, you can see him. Hey, Bubba. I call him Bubba Gumpo. That's kind of like my nickname for him. I call my silly little cat Bubba Gumpo. Why? I don't remember. I don't quite remember. Oh, there. I call him Bubba G. Forgive me. This might be what's the word? This might be like mean, but I also call him like I call him Mr. Gay. Is that a mean thing? I don't mean it in like a derogatory way, but like I do call my cat Mr. Gay sometimes. Which is fine. I do not mean it in a derogatory way. I also call him Gooberfish. I do call him Gooberfish from time to time. What else do I call him? I said Bubba G, Gooberfish, Stank. He's the previous name has been Stank. Where's that? I'm gonna add another layer so we can do just sort of like this is not something that you really need to worry about if you're looking at home, but I'm gonna do some screen tones for like in here. You know what I'm saying? Those are really dark screen tones. What opacity are we working with? Oh, they're really fine screen tones. Is there another textures? Is there screen tone fine? The hell? Screen tone noir? Bro, what? What is that? I guess we're just doing screen tone regular. Screen tone pressure. I don't really know how to edit the things on the screen tone here, but that's all right. It goes up here. Okay, so what do we learn from doing all this is that I am not a perfect artist. I am definitely not like a perfect like digital artist either. So again, do as I say, not as I do. None of this is perfect. As you can see, my proportions are just a little bit off. Just fine. If I were doing this on paper, I'd have a better eye for it. Definitely, because I can do construction better when I have like an actual like sheet of paper there in front of me. And again, I'm just blaming things at this point. But besides that, I think that I don't know if there's any like flower type thing here. Leaves. Yeah, we can do leaves. Definitely, again, do as I say, not as I do. I'm not a perfect artist. But I think like what you can see here is that we have like a pretty good indication of like line work and like indication of, I say indicate a lot. Yes, I know. It's very funny. I think I could probably like make the eyes a little bit bigger, honestly. Um, we have a pretty good. I'm in the wrong layer. Damn it. We have a very good indication of the direction of the hatching. Like what I think we're like looking for here is that the make that a bit bigger. I should probably shift and do that. We have a very specific direction of hatching that we're doing here, where we're following forms. We are looking at sort of cast shadows, and it's not random. You know, it's like whenever you're doing your shadows. I gotta stop doing that. Whenever you were looking at I think that's a bit better. You need to pay attention to the direction that you're going. Don't do it haphazardly. Remember that we are doing artwork of like three-dimensional objects, right? And so three-dimensional objects have what we call form. It's the three-dimensionality that binds everything together. So please remember that. It is very important. Where are we? I need to sneeze. I scared my cat away. So we're just gonna finish out with some texturing here. And I guess we'll talk business after that. Why am I not? Do I have an alpha on? What am I doing? I haven't locked, do I? Why would it be doing that? I'm on the brush setting. Why is that being silly? Is my program just bugging out? Is that what's going on? Why would it? Opacity is good. Have I reached the ham limit? Is that what's going on? I'm genuinely confused. Did I push a button somewhere? Did I do that? Is that what it is? That's what it is. It's because I had a thing selected. Damn. This program's weird sometimes. So let me leave you all with this. Yeah, I wish I was a better artist. I wish I could like make amazing art for all of you, and I'm working towards it. I really am. But for now, hope that you learned something about art in general. I hope you learned that to study something is to observe something, is to sometimes whenever you are trying to draw and like learn something, before you start drawing, maybe just like write down what it is that you're like seeing first, and that will sort of help you come to a conclusion on how to draw that thing better. I don't know what I'm doing here either. Because like that will like give your study like structure, you know. definitely I will be studying these things a bit more intuitively whenever I get I guess that doesn't really need to be thick. I will be studying these things more intuitively whenever I get like start doing it like traditionally, right? It's because like that's like where like I am best suited. So please be cool. I don't know if like that works. It's fun. I'm just messing around now. Really, the stream is like by all means like over. By all means, the stream is like it's so over right now. But hope you learned something. Again, like you know my I'm not good with outros, so consider this your incredibly long outro while I clean all of this up. Next week we will not be doing a stream. Remember, we are doing these every other week, right? So we are going to take a break, but like during that time, it's not like I'm not doing anything. I'm working on other things, using the extra time to like practice art more or to what's the word? Be like work on videos or something, or sometimes it's like reading. Sometimes I just read. Oh, I forgot to say, I finished reading Moby Dick again, and I recorded a little uh, podcast esque sort of like book talk with one of my friends where we talk about the book. Right. So we structured the discussion into talking about like three sort of like themes of the book we wanted to discuss. So keep an eye out for that. I don't think it'll be out. Uh, it might be out sometime this next week. I don't know. I recorded it, so like it's like not that. I need to figure out how I'm gonna format it, as far as like or I guess maybe not format it, but I need to figure out like how like much cutting out I'm gonna do with it, you know. So like that's something that I have to come to terms with. Other than that, like it's a pretty good discussion, I would say. I'm biased, of course, because I was one of the ones doing the discussing. But yeah, I love Moby Dick. We're reading Lord of the Flies next. That's the next book. So yeah, um, we're gonna combine these layers with the layer below. We're just gonna mess around, you know. Yeah, get this layer out of here. We're gonna do some enlarging. Why is it locked? We're locked because is this a postable one? It looks a little wonky, right? Because if I'm being honest, we got wait, maybe if I rotate it a bit more like that, center of the face is there-ish. The worst thing I've ever seen. I'm being harsh on myself. Very nice. Okay. Put a background to it. Why not? We're just messing around. We're just goofing off now. I'm the king of goofing off. Goofing. I love goofing and I love gaffing. For a second, I was like, where'd it go? Somehow I got the exact same hue as the surrounding Delio? What? In the... Oh, it's just barely. Look at that. Whoa. What are the odds of that? I mean, I guess it's like gray, so it's like pretty high, but that's nuts. So cool. I'm so good at this. Damn. Damn, I'm cool. That's the big takeaway here. That a bit better. Damn, I'm so cool. That's what we should be thinking here. You're like Alan is actually the coolest. Um. Anyways, I'm gonna clean this up, and we're just gonna call it. We're just gonna call it there because I could sit here and mess with this all day. Thank you everybody. I'm gonna continue doing my thing from way down here. Thank you everybody for watching the stream. We'll catch you not next week, but the week after. In the meantime, practice your art. If you're bad at digital art, do whatever I'm doing and just like throw yourself into it and just fail miserably. And if you have a sketchbook, get in that sketchbook and also just like fail miserably. But fail miserably a lot, to the point where you you succeed, right? Okay. Everybody, I hope you have a good night. We will catch you. I already said, but we're gonna catch you. Goodbye. Goodbye.